Hi, everyone. This is Tamara Caulder Richardson, and welcome to Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience, and Other Phenomena. We have once a month something called the Spiritual Awakenings International, SAI, Speaker Spotlight. And every month, SAI has free speakers. I mean, you just can't beat that. And so today, we're going to introduce our speaker. But first, I want to tell you, subscribe, watch the channel, and I'm going to introduce, I should tell you a little bit of something about me. We're having too much fun in the green room beforehand, guys. This is going to be a blast of a show. If this is the start of it, this is going to be so much fun. But anyway, I'm your host, Tamara Caulder Richardson. I'm also a advisory board member on SAI, and my channel, the Seeking Heaven channel, is an affiliate member. So that is, I think SAI is fantastic. I love the speakers they have and what they're trying to do to raise awareness in this world with spirituality. There's so many things that they cover. So I wanted to bring on, and I am also an experiencer, a multiple near-death experiencer and spiritually transformative experiencer. So I'm going to bring on the co-founder and president of SAI, Dr. Von Kaysen.
Hi, Tamara.
Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome. So here we are doing these things again. I'm so excited because you have an exciting year lined up for us. And what a way to kick off the fall with a real firecracker. So tell us before we get into the speaker, because I know you're going to introduce the speaker. I wanted the people that are listening to, if they don't know about Spiritual Awakenings International, to tell us a little bit about it, how it was formed, and why.
Sure. Well, I co-founded Spiritual Awakenings International with Robert Baer, my co-founder. He is currently the vice president, and I am the president of Spiritual Awakenings International back in June of 2020. And the reason that we did it, folks, is that we both had a calling, that we both individually had at the same time downloads, like a calling from spirit, that we were being called to found an organization that was not just looking at one type of spiritually transformative experiences people are having, whether that be near-death experiences or kundalini or psychic phenomenon, but that looked at the whole range of spiritually transformative experiences, because that was needed in the world right now. And these experiences are all connected. It's like when somebody has their awakening experience, they don't just have like one type of SDE. After that, they start having all kinds of SDEs, and they become multiple SDE experiencers. And so that is the focus of Spiritual Awakenings International. And we are founded by experiencers. I'm a multiple NDE and multiple SDE experiencer. Robert Baer is also a multiple NDE and multiple SDE experiencer. So we founded it by experiencers for experiencers. And our mission is basically threefold. We want to raise awareness around the world that do not burn us at the stake. We are not heretics and we are not crazy, but it is part of the awakening and consciousness that's happening in the planet. More and more people are starting to have different kinds of spiritually transformative experiences, which, by the way, is a term that I coined back in the 90s. So raising awareness about it, networking between individuals and groups all around the world. We have in 1 year over 2,000 subscribers from all around the world, from 60 countries around the world. It's incredible. I mean, people all over the planet are having spiritual awakenings, and they want to meet other people who are, and they want to be informed. So our third aspect of our mission is sharing. So people sharing their experiences, sharing what they've learned, sharing what they've researched. So we have been offering free online speaker events once a month. And I'm really delighted that Mark Anthony, who I'm going to introduce in a second, is going to be our next speaker. It's going to be dynamite. He's presenting on Saturday, September 18th. So we have these featured speaker events once a month. And also, I may as well toss in here, we're going to be starting something new in October, something we've not done up until now. We are launching Spiritual Awakenings International, or SAI, Experiencers Sharing Circles. So what this is once a month, and it's going to be the first Saturday of every month to start. We're going to have sharing circles where people who are experiencers can come together in a safe place confidentially and share their experiences with other like-minded people. And it's not therapy or anything like that. No, this is a safe space to share your experiences with others experiencers. So we're really delighted to start doing this in October, and we plan to expand this down the road. We're going to start in December to have Spanish language sharing circles, because there's a big interest in the Spanish community. We have some facilitators that are Spanish speaking that are going to do that. And then we have planned to start not too far in the distant future down under sharing circles at a time that suits people who live in New Zealand, Australia, Hawaii, countries like that. So we're very excited about this. So, but back to Mark Anthony. He's going to be our speaker this Saturday.
All right. Well, so let's bring on Mark, and let me bring him on. So welcome. So you're going to be speaking this Saturday, and I guess we should go ahead and say, if you want to listen to Mark's his presentation, that will be at 1. I'm just going to go ahead and jump in there. That will be at 1 o'clock, and they're usually a couple hours, and they're pretty meaty. You get to ask questions afterwards. They're really a lot of fun, but it's free. So go ahead, and the website up there earlier, but that's spiritualawakeningsinternational.org. Anyway, welcome, Mark. It's so nice to see you again.
Thank you. I always enjoy working with both of you, and thank you for having me as a speaker at Spiritual Awakenings International. I'm really looking forward to this presentation.
You're very welcome. Tamara, can I say a few words to introduce Mark?
I was going to say, before we go into his topic, why don't you say some more about Mark, the people that don't know him?
Yeah, we are absolutely delighted to have Mark as our speaker coming up on Saturday, the 18th. It's 1 p.m. Eastern time, you guys. And he is a renowned speaker. He's been a keynote at all sorts of conferences, and he's previously known as the psychic lawyer, now also known as the psychic explorer. And he is a really unique and dynamic combination. He is a lawyer. Okay, he is also a 4th generation psychic medium. And when I say he's a lawyer, he's Oxford educated, he's a trial lawyer, he's tried over 100 jury trials, and he's a member of the US Supreme Court bar. But at the same time, he's from a family of mediums, and he furthered his gift of mediumship by studying at the Arthur Findlay College for the Advancement of Psychic Science in England. And he has been romping around the world as the psychic explorer, and he travels all around to really interesting supernatural spots and spiritual and mystical destinations to try and learn about their secrets, etc. And I think he'll be sharing some of that when he's speaking to us on Saturday. He's an expert on spirit communication, survival of consciousness, near-death experiences. And he's got such a sharp mind. I mean, you'll discover this. He also has extensive background in quantum physics, history, archaeology, philosophy, theology. And I think one of the most remarkable things about Mark is his great sense of humor. He always gets me laughing. And so I'm sure people are going to learn a lot from this presentation, as well as have several belly laughs. And I want to mention he's the author of 3 books. His newest book is coming out soon. You can order it already. It's called The Afterlife Frequency, and I'm sure it's going to be awesome. So I am just absolutely delighted that Mark Anthony, JD, which means he's a lawyer, will be, and he's a psychic explorer, will be our featured speaker at Spiritual Awakenings International this Saturday, September the 18th.
Fantastic. Wow. Well, that is a phenomenal introduction. But before we go into the topic, we were having so much fun before we got on the live stream. I mean, I'm telling you, Mark he's a very intelligent person. There's no doubt he loves learning and embraces that. But he is so funny. And you were talking about these things behind you. You said they're not just Pier 1. There's places you've been around the world.
Yeah, I know it's funny because people are like, "Oh, where did you get those?" And it's like each one of them comes with a story, some heartwarming, some kind of harrowing. In fact, you can't really see it from here, but there's a dragon on the table behind me, and I actually bought that when I was in Bangkok, Thailand, and I came within an inch of losing my life that night. And that's actually part of the first chapter, the opening chapter in my new book, The Afterlife Frequency. And so I've spent a good deal of my life traveling around the world because I've always been interested in God and the afterlife, and I want to study the different perspectives on it. And I've been very, very honored to study with Christians. I was going to be a Catholic priest. I was considering going into seminary, but I felt it was too constraining. So I ended up going to law school. So talk about jumping out of the rule frying pan into the regulatory fire. But the thing is that also enabled me to study with Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, Jains, Hawaiian priests. I've studied with Native Americans, and and I can go on, and it's just been fascinating. And I've always been very interested in reincarnation. And so that is one of the reasons that I put together the presentation that I'm going to be presenting this Saturday.
Well, that's a good lead in. I mean, there's so many things that I have questions. You were just, I mean, my gosh, this is only 30 minutes, not 3 hours, because I just, and you could feel it for sure with all your stories. So tell us a little bit, this is just a teaser just to get people interested in signing up. Tell us a little bit about your topic, which is Debunking Death, the Science of Reincarnation and Near-Death Experiences. Just what are some things you're going to cover in this speech this coming Saturday?
Well, that, the name of the title came to me, and it's always amazing when I'm trying to think of something and come up with a name or solve a problem. It always seems to happen when I'm not thinking about it. And I remember I was coming back from Walmart or something, and all of a sudden I go, Debunking Death. Because think about it, debunking death. The big terror, the fear is that we're going to just disintegrate into nothingness when our physical body stops functioning. And I think that that's the biggest fear as well for those who've lost a loved one, that someone that mattered so much to them just disintegrated into nothingness. And I've spent years studying reincarnation, and I've had my own glimpses, if you will, of prior lifetimes. And so I'm going to be explaining basically how reincarnation is at the root of all the major religions, how it has been studied for thousands of years. I'm going to go into some case studies, but then I'm going to show the parallels between understanding reincarnation and near-death experiences. And in my new book, The Afterlife Frequency, see, near-death experiences, deathbed visions, spirit contact through mediumship, through visitations, they've all been separated into different categories. And I see that there is a common denominator between all of them. Mm-hmm. And that common denominator extends to reincarnation. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm going to be presenting. But I do caution you, do not expect a dry and boring presentation. All right.
No, that's not going to happen.
No, not going to happen. I spent so much time in law school trudging through these boring books. And then when I started practicing law, reading these opinions written by judges who may have brilliant legal minds, but with all due respect, absolutely no gift whatsoever for writing something that anyone really wants to read, until I found the opinions of Judge Learned Hand. Now, he's one of the superstars of American jurisprudence. He lived back in the early 20th century. And, come on, his parents named him Learned Hand. With a name like that.
Is that a real name? I don't know.
So with a name like that, two things are going to happen. One, you're going to get beat up every day on the way home from school. And number two, you got to do something brilliant. Okay. Well, he became a brilliant judge, and his opinions to this day are still honored. And he had his writing style was beautiful. And I remember in law school, he was my one hope. And and I remember, we had to take federal basic income taxation, which I swear is like drinking cement. All right. Trying to read the Internal Revenue Code, and my head was pounding. I couldn't make sense of the statute. And so I was flipping around in this other book, and the way synchronicity happens, it just opened to this one page, and there was a quote by Learned Hand talking about the Internal Revenue Code. And he said, it's a fantastic labyrinth whose words dance before my eyes in a meaningless procession, cross-reference to cross-reference, exception to exception. And I started laughing and thinking, if he thought it was boring and confusing, I felt a lot better about myself. So the thing is, when I write a book like The Afterlife Frequency and my two earlier books, Evidence of Eternity and Never Letting Go, and when I do presentations, sure, I'm going to talk about quantum physics. I'm going to talk about theology, religion, ancient history, but I'm going to present it in a way that makes it interesting because it is interesting. And when you're passionate, and this is my advice to anyone out there who's a writer, and I know both of you are writers, and Yvonne, you've written several books, is if you're passionate about what you do, you're going to find a way to make the subject interesting. And it's funny because I remember my dad always used to say, well, you can make any subject interesting. It's like, yeah, well, how about algebra? But I remember having a teacher in high school, darn if he didn't make it interesting, So that's what I want to, and that's what I'm hoping will come across is to not only educate people, but also, we have to have some fun. Let's have some fun.
Right. Yeah, I know in the past when I've seen you like to interact with the audiences. So I imagine this will be very similar. So now, is this going to be a combination of all your findings over the years, or are you going to talk about any personal experiences, stories? Because you've got funny stories, but they're also full of wisdom.
This one is not so much personal anecdotes, but there are plenty of stories of people who've had NDEs and who have recalled prior lifetimes. And I'm going to give a couple case studies that are interesting. Yeah, I have glimpses, I have memories of prior lifetimes. But it's funny because I was reading an archaeological article, and these archaeologists were really taking pot shots at reincarnation. And they said, why is it that only ancient Greeks, ancient Romans, and ancient Egyptians reincarnate? What's wrong with Central Asian Kazakhs and Magyars? He said, they apparently aren't very adept at reincarnation. And he says, and when it comes to the Etruscans, forget it. And I was laughing about that. But the thing is, there are many people who do have memories of these other cultures. It's just that the flashier ones tend to get more attention. And I've even found that with myself. As a child, I remember I couldn't get enough of Indian sitar music. And it was driving my mom crazy. She's like, why are you listening? And
I'm a strange little kid, right?
Yeah, I'm this little kid, and it's like, I want to eat curry, and I love Indian food and all this stuff. And I have just always resonated with India and Hinduism. And it's funny because I think it's still an active website. It's called beliefnet.com. Okay. And they have a survey there. and you fill out like 100 questions, and it's not just A, B, C, and D. It's like more likely than this, more that's like a graduated scale. And then it takes all your answers and evaluates what religion you should be or align with. So I'm thinking, Lauren, I was raised, I was, an altar boy. I was raised to be, a Catholic priest and all this. It came back Hindu. So I was surprised as anybody else.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Yeah, this is oh wow, so much here. So talking about reincarnation, so you're going to give examples of that. I mean, I recall, and I know Dr. Grayson has also recalled past lives. So this is something that is part of this whole spiritual experience, and I think it connects us, because we probably have all known each other. Just kind of guess. So what's your thoughts on that? Why do you think most people, I know we have amnesia between lives, but don't you feel that a lot of near-death experiencers or maybe spiritually transformed experiencers, maybe they have a Kundalini awakening? Do you think that triggers that past life recall?
I think it has a lot to do with it, sure. And that's a good question. I'd like to say for the Q&A after.
Okay, sure. Okay,
yeah, because there's so much complexity to our soul that it would be, we can't just simplistically say, this, it's this or this. It's funny. I've done some past life regression therapy, and meditations and things like that. And I remember I did one that was actually being facilitated by the late Sylvia Brown. And Sylvia Brown, for those of you who don't know who she was a very, very famous psychic medium. She used to be on the Montel Williams show.
Montel Williams, yeah. I like watching her, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. But she was really known for being very caustic and sarcastic. Okay, and she was sitting on this big chair. It was like a throne, and people would come up and they were allowed to ask one question. And I remember it was so sad. This one lady says, "What happened to my cat?" She goes, "It ran away." Next, and I'm like, "Oh my god,
like that!"
Oh my god, And then this guy comes up, and he stumbled into a chair on the way up, and he said, "Will I find true love?" She goes, "I don't think you're going to find your way back to your seat without knocking over another chair." All right, so then it's my turn to go up there. And I said, "Does anyone on the other side have a message for me?" And she sits back in her chair and she looks at me and she goes, "Your mother." What was fascinating is my mother had passed 6 months before that.
Wow.
And she said, "And it's about time you accept, embrace, and start practicing your mediumship." And I go, "My mother really admired you, Sylvia." And she goes, "I like her too." And it was really, really nice that I had that moment with her. And the thing is, I don't mean to crash on her. And if I can for a minute, she got criticized a lot in the media. And I know that we all do. Okay. We all have put ourselves out there and we're all in these fringe fields, but it really isn't so much fringe anymore because, science is beginning to prove what we do is real. And there was the case of Amanda Berry. She was the young lady who was kidnapped and she was kept in, and her mother was on Montel. And she said to Sylvia, she said, "Will I ever see my daughter again? And where is my daughter?" And she said, something about Cuba, somebody maybe Cuban took her. She's underneath the house and you'll see her again when you're on the other side. Well, that's not exactly what the mother wanted to hear. And then Amanda Berry was rescued just over a year after that. And of course, the media kept playing that and trashing her. But the man who kidnapped her, his last name was Castro. So Sylvia was getting Castro, and thought Cuba.
Got it.
She was kept under the house, and Amanda's mother died prior to Amanda being rescued.
Oh, so she was right.
She was right.
She was right.
It's just that people need to understand it. And I know, Tamara, that you know this, and Yvonne, that you know,
gosh,
is that messages that come through from the other side are not always immediately apparent. It takes time
absolutely.
for that to unfold. And I always felt bad about how the media was trashing Sylvia. And so, you know, she could be abrasive with people, but she really was very gifted. And and so I felt very honored that I was able to meet such a distinguished pioneer in this field.
That's a wonderful story. And, you know, she has written her legacy. I mean, tons of books. I don't know how many, what, 15, 20? I mean, quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they're still selling. I mean, they're very popular still. So she did have a certain way about her, but at least she knew she didn't candy coat it.
But you know, the past life regression meditation that she did, and it's funny because I have never mentioned this ever before.
Here we go.
I haven't written about it. It's not in my presentation. Okay. But we did this meditation, and to go back to a prior life, and all of a sudden I saw these arches. And they were these stone arches, and there was water in there, and it looked like kind of like a very shallow swimming pool. And I could smell the water, and I could see myself splashing through it, about knee-deep water. And I must have been about 5 or 6 years old, and there was all these other young boys splashing around in this, and it had this very, very like Romanesque type look to it, and then I started hearing Narbo, and something like my name was Narbo. I'm like, Narbo. And I didn't understand it, you know, so I came out and there was more to it of it. It actually zeroed in like, you know, how I died in that lifetime, and I was relatively young. So a couple weeks later, I decided I'm on the computer, and I started to do an internet search. And I go, Narbo. And it zeroes in on, there was during the Roman Empire in what is now southern France, there was a small town called Narbo. And it had pictures of the ruins there. And I'm looking at it, and my heart almost stopped, because that pool that I saw myself in, it's in ruins. And I saw the arches, but I saw it looking brand new. Okay. And I'm like, huh. You know, and I don't want to say that, oh, that was definitely my life, because as a researcher and as a teacher, I like to present the evidence and let the recipients decide. But for me, that was pretty convincing. Or what we call in a court of law, persuasive evidence, not necessarily conclusive.
Wow. I mean, that's a great example of memory and it popping out. Something similar, someone was telling me a similar, not the same thing, but a similar story, and a word that came up in another culture, and it meant great leader. And they were the chief shaman, and that, you know, so these things can just randomly pop up at any point. They don't have to be past life regression. But yeah, I too have always been fascinated with life that goes on, and this is going to be very fascinating. So look, everybody, I know we're getting close to out of town. I'm just mesmerized, Mark. I could just listen to you all day. So I can't wait. I'm like, more. But we're this is a short segment. This is why you need to sign up. So this is the sign up below and register. It's going to be this Saturday. Don't be late. Be there, because we're going to start on time. And this is packed full. I've been to them. They're really good. They're first class quality. The fact they're free, I can't even believe it. And so it's spiritualawakeningsinternational.org to see Mark Anthony, the Psychic Explorer. And this is it'll be full of a lot of, I'm sure, very good validating information, but also quite a lot of fun. It'll be a roller coaster ride of wisdom and enlightenment, and we'll have fun along the way. So thank you so much. And also, Dr. Von Kaysen, would you like to mention anything as a final closing? I always give that to you.
Oh, I thank you, Tamara. I just wanted to say we're really grateful to have Mark Anthony speaking this Saturday. He is renowned as a speaker, and I'm sure everyone's going to have a great time and learn a lot. So as Tamara said, spiritualawakeningsinternational.org/events. That's the page where you register. And yep, it's free, but we will take your donations to help us cover our operating costs.
And if I can,
yes,
people that are attending, please donate, because Spiritual Awakening.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
These events don't happen by free. All right. They just don't spontaneously happen. And, those of us who have spiritual gifts, people are always like, well, reading should be free. What you should do is free. It's like, well, yeah, but, the power company doesn't give me free electricity. The bank doesn't let me live in my house for free. The grocery store doesn't give us groceries for free. And our time and the energy that we put into this, and Yvonne and Tamara and Robert and Linda and everyone associated with this, putting these events together online is a tremendous lot of work, and it comes out of their pockets. And so anything that you can do to help Spiritual Awakenings International is going to not just benefit them, it's going to benefit you, it's going to benefit everyone who's interested in understanding their own spiritual journey and bringing more enlightenment to this world. And let me tell you, this world really needs it.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
That was beautiful. And Dr. Kaysen, when they go on to the spiritualawakeningsinternational.org, they can see where to donate.
Yes, there's a donate button that you can donate, and you can also subscribe to our mailing list, so you'll be informed about all of our upcoming events.
Okay.
But right now, sign up to hear Mark Anthony this Saturday.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that. That was very classy. That was awesome. You're a classy guy, Mark. I can't wait to see you Saturday. So thank you both so much. This has been so much fun, and we will continue this and with SAI when you sign up, and you will see Mark speak. All right. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your time, everybody. Goodbye.
Many blessings.
You too. Bye-bye.